And we have, oh, here it is. Oh, it started already. So welcome to class. That was pretty quick today. Doesn't always happen that quick. So I guess I'd like to introduce Jade actually, because all of these lessons that we film or record, my mind is half in Spanish today. So that's not good for an English class. But basically, these classes are going to be used for Thomas's academies, and so Jade is going to be a teacher there eventually, and so she's joining us today to kind of see what this is all about, and that's basically it. So who's watching now, which I don't see any viewers, but that's okay. For those that will watch, this is Jade. So actually, do you want to introduce yourself just a tiny little bit, so Ken can get to know you too in case you do come back?
Okay. Hi, Ken.
Yes,
my name
hello.
is Jade. I actually come from South Africa. I've moved to Germany a month ago. And yes, I met up with Thomas. And since I was a language teacher for for first additional language in South Africa, we thought that it might be a good idea for me to see what it would be like and how it would work to do basically teaching as a foreign language in Germany, and for some perhaps first additional language, depending on where they went to school, for German speakers here to learn and improve on their English. So I'm just hanging out with Becky, literally, at every opportunity, because she's just giving me a bit of a heads up on grammar rules of teaching, and so on. And I look forward to seeing you around in the different meetups.
Oh yeah, sure. And I'm a kind of regular student of Integra group, and yeah, the class is really supportive for me. Also, I've learned a lot of South African with a lot of South African teachers before. So nice to meet you.
Well, good. Well, I didn't know you had done that, Ken. So
yeah. Actually, I've learned. Yes.
That's good.
So, yes. Because it's a kind of internet time, so teacher could be everywhere around the globe. So yeah, that's fantastic.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, perfect. So why don't we get started? So we're taking you around the world in a different aspect today. We're going to take a look at some tips on how to have a successful business trip, or it completely depends. And so I kind of structured this in general as giving you ideas on what to do, how to plan your trip, how to book hotels. It depends, because maybe you have to book everything or reserve everything. Maybe you have to do nothing. You just have to literally follow the itinerary, the schedule. So it completely depends. So you have to do something, because if you don't have to do anything, it's going to be very simple. So what I'm going to do is, let me just make sure that this generate document work trip tips. I did this to make it difficult. So, and actually the document that I'm trying to save for Jade isn't saving, which is normal. Technology is not my best friend. So let's, now it's ready. It's Jade's test for tomorrow. Work trip tips. And Ken, I'd like you to say that 3 times. Is that possible?
Work trip tips. What minute? Work trip tip. I couldn't get the meaning.
No, it's difficult to pronounce. It was a tongue twister. It's a non-tongue twister.
Work trip tips.
That's one. So how about 3 times together?
Okay. Work trip tips. Work trip tips. Work trip tips.
Not bad.
Nice.
Jade, do you want to try?
Thank you.
Work trip tips. Work trip tips. Work trip tips.
All right, good. Well, I'm not going to try because you did that just fine. So,
Nice.
Work trip tips. Work trip tips. Work trip tips.
Yay!
Okay. All right. Well, let's take a look here. So it says, do you have to travel to a different city or country for work? Check out these tips to help prepare you for your trip. So basically, like I said, this is going to be structured for someone who has to plan everything. You say, hey, you have to be in this city or country for, this meeting this day at this time. Okay, so where do you start? So what are the first things that we need to think about when considering going on a business trip? What are the first things that you think about? Ken, do you want to start with that? And then we'll have Jade answer as well.
Yeah, I'm just sort of going to have a step back and give Ken
All
the
right, that's fine.
opportunity to answer. And then if you want me to answer something, then I'll do so.
Perfect. So Ken, go ahead. What do you think of if someone said you have to go to the United States for a business trip? Ken lived in the United States for 6 months. So yes, so you have to go back to the States, or maybe you have to go to Australia this time, or you have to go to England or some other native English-speaking country. So what do you think of first? You have to go to an English conference for teachers, blah, blah, blah. What's your first concern? What's your first thought?
Thought is I'm vulnerable of jet lag. So time zone is pretty different from these countries. But Australia is close. So Australia will be
That's
okay,
why I said that one, because I know it's closest.
So, but Australia. If I go to the Australia, I need to change my clothes. After I get no, I forgot to get out the airplane. I'm not sure that exact expression. Yeah, airplane.
Yeah, when you leave, when you get off the plane.
Yes, get off the plane. Yes. So in winter time now, Australia is summertime. Yeah, in some South Hemisphere and South Africa too. Yes,
that's true.
Maybe
so that's something to think about. What kind of? I'm sorry. Yes. What kind of clothes you need to bring? Okay. What else do you think about?
Since it is Congress, maybe if I make a presentation in such a meeting, I need to prepare a lot of things. But if I just go there, maybe I don't have to prepare so many things. But maybe, how can I say? It's a kind of teachers meeting.
Yeah, conference for teachers. What about where you're going to sleep, or how you're going to get to that place where you sleep?
Yeah, actually, I need to book the hotel. Yes.
You are not sleeping at the conference, so basically, we need to think about, booking your hotel. I think that's almost more important than clothes. Clothes you can always buy in another country. So, that would be my concern. But
actually, I went to the United States with just a backpack. I left a suitcase in Japan because it was too heavy.
Because so you're a man and you can bring a few things, Ken.
And also, it was a summertime. So, T-shirts. And then I thought I can buy clothes in the United States after reached there.
Yes, that's very true. It happens when people lose their suitcases as well, I shouldn't say they don't lose their suitcases, but the airline might lose their suitcase. And so you obviously have to buy new things, like clothes, for example, when you get to the new country. So thankfully, that has never happened to me, knock on wood. It's a big superstition here in Spain. So knock on wood, that doesn't happen to me ever in my life. So good. So the first thing we need to, well, actually, I'm sorry, Jade, did you want to comment on anything else that we need to think about before we?
Oh, we will see. I have a list. Time zone, visa requirements, booking your flight, booking your accommodation, booking your intermediary transport. What is the weather like? What clothes do I need depending on if I'm presenting? Preparatory materials depending on if I'm just attending or presenting, and so on and so forth. And each one of them will have its own little subdivisions. But the first thing I do is actually look at visa requirements, because if you need a visa, you cannot get a visa without accommodation and your plane ticket being booked. If you don't need a visa, then you can sort of do it in any order as long as you get there and have a place to stay first.
Well, that is definitely a complete list, huh, Ken? That's
perfect.
So Jade's going to be teaching today's class. No. Well, maybe. Well, this is some things that I think about before leaving. First of all, your suitcase. The most important things, in my opinion, like I said, it depends. This presentation, today's class could be structured in so many different ways, and this is just one of the ways. So before leaving, my first is suitcase. I mean, if you're going on a trip, your suitcase is probably the most important thing because that's where you're going to put everything. So your suitcase, your itinerary, the times, dates, things like that, of if it's just one conference or, there's a couple different things going on. If there's a lunch meeting or a dinner meeting or, a dinner with the people from the business and it's not a meeting. So it depends. You will obviously need your hotel address after you book your hotel. So that's also important. And then casual formal clothes, obviously for the different events that you will have, depending on if maybe you're only going there for one day or one night. Let's say you get in the night before the meeting, you have the meeting, and then, then you leave the next day. So casual clothes you might not really need except for pajamas at that point. Arrangements to and from the airport. I mean, all of this is before you leave, so obviously 2 is the most important, but also you need to think about it when you come home. And then also spending money. Do you have to transfer any money into a different currency or not? Or are you using a company credit card, for example? So, the 3 of us all kind of have different ideas, which is really good to see. And, Jade has things that I didn't think about, and Ken's thinking about clothes before sleeping. So we all have different priorities.
Yeah, like when I moved to Germany, I did everything else and bought my suitcases last. Literally, like 2 days before I left, I bought suitcases.
I would not have done that. I've gotten suitcases for Christmas gifts multiple times. So me having suitcases is not a problem. So good. And so obviously, like I said, Jade has other things on the list as well. And this is just a general kind of list here. Moving on, do your research. So Ken, why don't you go ahead and read this paragraph or a couple sentences for us, okay?
Okay. Look at your destination more closely. Get an idea of size where things are near your hotel. Also look to see if there will be any events, concerts, talks, protests, etc. during your stay that might make getting around a bit difficult.
Mm-hmm. Good. And so pronunciation was good, so Ken, thank you. That's basically it. Just kind of do your research. Is there anything important going on? If you're traveling from the airport to your hotel, are there any roads that are blocked off because of a protest or because of a concert? Or are the hotels booked because of a concert or protest or talk or something like that? So it's always good to do a little bit of research about where you're going.
What is talks in this context? Talks.
Do you know like TED Talks?
Yeah, presentation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, when someone gives a speech or they want to, yesterday I was speaking to someone and she was going to a talk about hypnosis. So information, about a topic, basically.
Okay.
So good. Yeah, any other questions?
No, thank you.
Okay, good. Let's go down, I think. Oh no, that's the end of that. So again, do your research. All right, I think there's really nothing else I think about, maybe it depends. Holidays, there's lots of different things that could happen. So just make sure that there's reliable or things like that before you go. Okay. Jade, if you do have any comments, just let me know.
I'll do so.
Perfect. Ken, why don't you go ahead and read Leaving Your Town the Day of?
Okay. Wake up. put the rest of your personal hygiene products, chargers in the suitcase and double check.
Good. So I have double check in capital letters because even if you think, oh yeah, I put that in there, maybe you didn't. And that's happened to me before. And you get to some place and you're like, oh, I don't have that. So,
Yeah.
you know, it's definitely important the chargers, I think, is one of the most important things, especially nowadays. Phone, tablet, computer, etc. And obviously your hygiene products, those can be bought as well, but it's always nice to have your own. So, you know, you wake up and the first thing I do is get a head start on everything, you know. And I do have some hints down here, so I didn't want to say everything I want to right now. So hint, this actually should say number 1, but that's okay. Jay, do you want to read or should I let Ken read?
So again, sorry?
Do you want to read at all or should I just have Ken read?
No, Ken can read.
Perfect. Sounds good. Well, sometimes Thomas,
unless he'd like to hear it in a different accent.
Yeah? Ken, do you have a preference?
No preference. So, yeah. And,
do you want to read or would you like to listen to a different accent today? How's that for a preference?
Yeah, maybe, yeah, a different accent would be good for you know, other students who watching YouTube. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, I think so, yes.
Okay.
You get to. So why don't you go ahead and read my hint, number 1.
Okay. Hint. I mentally go through my morning, night routine to make sure I have everything I need. Also check to see you have enough clothes plus extra just in case.
Yep, you can never have too many clothes. I went on holiday not long ago and we actually had to buy clothes because we brought just enough and
Scary.
well, well, it wasn't that bad. I really like the dress I bought, so it's okay. But, you know, when you have to buy something, it puts extra pressure on you and not always fun. But it turned out okay. It was super hot on the way. Didn't work in the car, so we obviously had to change our clothes. So that was the problem. If we would have had air conditioning, it would have been okay. But Spain in early October was a little bit hotter than expected. So again, you know, you think, okay, when I wake up, what do I do? I make my coffee. Okay, after I make my coffee, what do? I go to the bathroom, I wash my face, I put lotion on, you know, brush your teeth, all of those kinds of things. I straighten my hair, so I would need my hair straightener. I don't think Ken, you know, just in case, or a curling iron or something like that. I don't know, Ken, if you use these things. I doubt it, but you never know.
Yeah, if I used to be a long hair, yeah.
You used to have long hair.
Yeah, because I was crazy about rock music stuff.
I didn't realize. You know, I have yet to find a picture of you in your Facebook pictures. I've looked. So. So yeah, quite difficult. But kids, so yeah, you know, just everyday things that you might need, that you might forget about unless you go through those steps of, okay, what's my first step? What's my second step? What do I do every morning when I get ready? Because that is exactly what you're going to need. Anything else to add? Comments, questions?
Nothing from our side.
Go ahead.
Nothing from my side. I'm happy.
Okay. Yeah, actually clothes, even in the summertime, you know, inside the building sometimes it's very cold because of the conditioning. So I bring some kind of thick vinyl. How can I say it in English? Jumper or something. A jumper or
I would say a sweater.
Windbreaker. Sweater? Yeah, maybe sweater. Yeah.
Okay, windbreaker.
Yeah, windbreaker, maybe, yeah.
Okay, a jacket or long sleeve shirt, something like that.
Right.
I just want to point out there quickly that the word sweater is completely an American thing. As far as I know, nobody else in the world uses the word sweater. So if you're going to America, it's nice to know the word should you need to buy one. Hi, I would like to purchase a sweater, because they won't know what a jersey or a jumper is. So, for example, that actually brings me to a point. Depending on the country you're going to, maybe do an extra little bit of research on what they call their clothes, because you sort of walking from shop to shop looking for a sweater, but you're in Australia. They have no idea what that is. So nobody can help you. But if you know, okay, they call it a jersey, or they call it a jumper, or whatever their word is, a kangaroo hopper for all I know, then at least you're a bit more prepared, and it helps you with additional vocabulary for your local destination.
Yeah. So such names are pretty confusing. In Japanese, we imported the English both maybe mainly British and American. So sometimes we say jumper or sweater, yeah, both actually. But the different meaning. Yeah, sometimes different meaning. Yeah. I think it's very confusing actually.
Yeah, well, and that's good to know. So should I ever go to Japan, I know that I can use either jumper or sweater if I'm looking for what in South Africa I call a jersey.
Oh, really? Okay. Jersey, yeah, we have jersey, but I don't know whether it is the same as the South American meaning of jersey.
Well, jersey is also a brown cow. So yes, it depends.
Okay.
That's it. That's all I wanted to say there.
Maybe disconnected. She has a problem.
I think she's just dropped off the face there. I see it's gone. She'll probably rejoin.
Yeah, I think so. Yes. Let's see. Yeah.
There we go. You're back. You're back.
Hello.
You're back.
Internet problems. It's raining in Spain. Sorry,
Rain,
I did message you,
Jane.
Yeah, well, I didn't think it was going to be a problem, so sorry. We just stopped mid-sentence, and I was like, oh, Ken, did something happen? And I'm like, wait a second, maybe something happened on my side. So that's probably what happened. I don't know what we were exactly talking about. I completely, the vocabulary words in different countries, and I completely agree with that, because a jersey in the United States is for the American football, or as I would say, just a football team. It's, basically.
Sportswear here too. Yes.
Exactly. So a jersey is something completely different. So I'm glad you brought that up, because it is super important to know the language of the country you're going to and what they call things, especially with food. I know in Spanish, some of the verbs that you use in Spain versus South America are pretty different. So you do have to be careful there. So good. Is there anything else that I missed? Let me see if I'm still recording. Stop broadcast. Yeah, I am still recording. Good. Anything else? Questions, comments again?
Nothing my side. I'm just writing and doing and making notes.
Good. Ken, anything?
No, thank you very much.
Okay, good. Well, Ken, it's your turn now to read hint number 2.
Okay. I make a list of items I need to use and pack the morning before I leave. Then I check off the items when I put them in the suitcase that same morning.
Period. Okay. So yes, this is true. The night before, it's those important things, the hair straightener for me, the charger, everything I might use during the night or in the morning that I need to bring with me, I write it on a list.
Like a toothbrush.
That too. That one's easy to remember. Instead of putting it in its spot again, I bring it in a special bag with the toothbrush cover. And so then I see that obviously, and I automatically put that in there. But yes, that's the same thing. Anything and everything important.
Yep, that makes sense.
So, you know, just to be extra careful, because who's ever early when they actually go on a trip or a holiday or something? Who's actually like, oh yeah, I'm a half an hour early? No
Me.
one. What? Ken, I think she's lying.
Not all the time, but most of the time.
That's crazy. Maybe it's Spain, maybe it's me, but I'm always running a little bit late. Normally, if we say 12, we leave here by 12:30 or 12:15, and then you have to go get gas or petrol.
Yeah, no.
Or, you know, this, that, or the other thing.
And I'm glad I'm like that, because Germany is a very punctual country. If you tell someone you're meeting them at 12, don't think you're getting there at 2 minutes past 12. That is very rude, because you are late.
Oh my gosh. There's a 15-minute rule in Spain. If you're not there within 15 minutes, then you can send a message or something. But before those 15 minutes, no.
Yeah, no, that's not the case here, unfortunately. So if you're not punctual, you will be snubbed as rude.
Well, I plan on going to Germany again one day, but
take note. There's no 15-minute rule here.
Well, there's no 15-minute rule when it comes to transportation here. I can tell you that. They leave on the dot. And there's a bus system here in town. There's only 3 lines. So the bus, you know, it's not a very big town. But there's days where it comes early and then you miss the bus. So there's really not like a good, but the other buses that go to other cities, that one is exactly on the minute. Like if you leave late, you're only leaving a minute late and that's it. So
yeah, late is relative in terms of a few minutes as opposed to 15 minutes or half an hour.
Half an hour is, yeah, that's annoying. Ken, what about in Japan?
Yeah, in terms of a train, it's just on time. Maybe, or even if the 20 seconds late, maybe sometime announcement, you know. Maybe so also, but talking about bus, since it is on the road, sometimes traffic congestion happens. So time is not so punctual in terms of the bus.
Yeah, and what about meeting with people, meeting up with friends and things?
Usually it is expected to be on time, but maybe 5 minutes late or something, it's acceptable, I think.
Okay, so we have 3 different degrees of punctual.
Yeah,
0 minutes, 5 minutes, 15 minutes.
If you are late 10 minutes, maybe nowadays, you know, everyone has smartphones or mobile phone, maybe. Yeah, according to the person is better. Yeah.
If I'm going to be late, I like to at least let the person know, like, hey, I'm going to be leaving in a couple minutes, but not everyone is like that. So, and we always think, oh, you know, oh, I have to hurry. I have to get ready because we're going out tonight and we have to meet these people at night. And there's a friend of my husband's and said, no, it's him. We have at least 15 more minutes. So you know that who are late and who aren't late. So well, good. Well, let's
continue. Won't fly here.
Yeah, go ahead. Well, that's okay because being on time, you are gonna be waiting a lot here. So, so finally, we're at the airport. All right. The first thing is to check in at the front desk. Make sure everything is correct. Unless you really have to go to the bathroom, I would say go. But the first thing you want to do is make sure everything's correct. Then go to the bathroom. Then you go through security, etc., etc. You know, I've flown multiple times, and you just want to make sure that everything, the flight's on time, your information's correct. Maybe you pick your seat or don't. And that's it. So, any questions or comments here?
No, except for that, so do all of everything on, if not all, 24 to 48 hours before your flight. So that sort of out. You just need to arrive and to have them loaded, and then you just wait.
Exactly. When you were speaking, you were coming in and out. So I'm not sure if when I talk, everything's going to be okay. But So yeah, basically, actually, because I have a flight on Sunday, today the flight company, the airline, sent me a message and they said, hey, check in online. And then, print your ticket and everything like that. So it's kind of nice that the airline does that too, to kind of, oh yeah, I can do that. I can check in now, even though it's super early. It's a lot easier to do it ahead of time than it is to wait in the long line, wait for, everything else. So good. Ken, any comments?
Yeah, the airport, one inconvenience for the go to the airport is we need to go maybe 30 or 1 hour before the flight. Maybe 30 minutes for domestic flight and 1 hour before for international flight.
Really?
No, for us it's 3 hours before international.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I really go. I need to check. I forgot about that. Okay.
Yeah,
anyway,
definitely
go.
check that, because a half an hour is like,
Yeah, no,
are you kidding?
They close the boarding gate like 45 minutes before the flight, so half an hour you're not getting on the plane.
Exactly. With my flight's at 7:00 in the morning. We need to be there probably an hour before, just because, well, it is an international flight, but it's a direct flight and it's early in the morning. So I'm not too concerned. Probably an hour and a half is our estimate, but knowing us, we'll be there an hour before because we're in Spain. So that's kind of that. So you do have to take that time, that extra time. So funny. Perfect. Well, let's continue on here. So while waiting at the airport, you can double check your itinerary to see if anything changed. You can talk to your secretary if you have one, to see if there's been any changes between, with anything on the itinerary, your schedule, the timing, hotel, and then check after the flight too, just to be sure that, again, there haven't been any changes. So everything that you're thinking in your head is still the same as on that paper.
Yes.
I think that's pretty self-explanatory. Just check, check, check. You don't want to be late, and you want to know what you're doing so you're not nervous. Okay, so Ken, why don't you please read On the Airplane?
Okay. And make sure you have gum in case the air pressure bothers you. Keep some personal items near you and put your carry-on above you so you have more leg room. I see.
Yeah, and I've done that multiple times where I've put things under the seat in front of me, and I suffered for many, many years with no room. It's a lot more comfortable if you just put it above you. So, and there's, it depends if when you get on the flight, if there's room right above you, next to you. If there's no room above you, try and put it before your actual seat. That way, when you leave, you don't have to go backwards to the back of the plane, because that is quite difficult.
Yeah, that's a mission.
Yeah, you don't want to have to do that. So, especially if you have a connecting flight, then you have to go back and then forward, and people get angry and they're not happy. So, or just leave it under the seat in front of you and you have less leg room. I would do that rather than put it back behind me. So, and the personal items, I've been on so many flights where people get up as soon as the seatbelt sign comes off or the whatever, and they get up, they get something, they sit down. Then they get up again, they get something else, and they sit down. And I'm like, dude, just get it. Like, put it down by you so you don't have to get up so often. And so just have those things near you, a book, if it's an MP3 player or something, just a couple little things. That way you're not disturbing other people by getting up, maybe if you're on the window side and not the aisle side. So there's just lots of different things. I just try and be as simple as possible, not a problem when I'm on flights.
Yeah, I find it easier for ladies because we have an additional handbag in addition to our carry-on luggage. So anything that I would need immediately, like a book, an MP3 player, a toothbrush, I don't know, whatever, will go in my handbag, which will be by my feet because there's still space for me to put my feet through under the seat, onboard luggage above me in the hold. So then, yes, doesn't matter where I'm sitting. I just lean forward, open my bag, and get whatever I need. For me,
Exactly.
unless you want to, you know, sort of carry a separate man bag type thing. But most men are not really keen on that.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Ken, do you have any advice from a man in this situation?
Man, I have a question about gum.
Okay.
Is it uncountable because have gum, not a gum, gum.
Well, Jade and I haven't really discussed a lot about uncountable nouns or countable nouns. Actually, Jade, can I test you, or would you prefer not to be tested at the moment? Is gum countable?
Can Ken just repeat the question? Sorry, because it was a little bit interrupted.
Okay.
Okay, talking about gum, is it countable or uncountable?
Well, gum can be countable, and when it is countable, you would have to use either a definite or an indefinite article, if I'm not mistaken. So well, no, not even. Like a gum would be one gum, but gum in singular and plural is the word gum. And I would say in general, it's uncountable because do I have one piece of gum in my bag? Do I have 5 pieces of gum in my bag?
Good. So if you
May
say
or not
gum,
be correct there, but that's what I would think.
okay, so gum is uncountable until you say I have a piece.
Yeah, a piece of
gum.
gum, yes.
Now it's countable. That's a difference. There's a lot of nouns which are uncountable, but when you put them with a measurement, they become countable, such as milk. Milk or any other liquid is going to be uncountable. You can't say, give me a milk. Okay. Well, you technically can because we do say that at a restaurant, but what we really mean is, can I have a glass of milk?
Yes, it's a portion of milk, whether it's a glass, whether they serve it in a 250 ml bottle or box, we're not really sure, but it is a countable measurement of milk at a restaurant.
Exactly. So again, gum is uncountable until you give it a measurement, which happens many, many, many times in English.
How about if I say a sheet of gum? Is it strange?
A sheet?
Yeah, it's like a stick of gum. A stick of gum is an accountable noun.
Okay.
Yes,
because you can count one stick of gum.
I forgot about that. Isn't that funny? When you live in a different country, Jade, tell me in a year how well your English is. Because
yeah, we'll see how it goes. No, absolutely. I think you just also forget your own colloquialisms because you're not surrounded by it on a daily basis.
And you can't use the everyday things that you would normally use when teaching, and so your English changes. So it's quite interesting. So a stick of gum. I wouldn't have thought of that, I don't think. I would have said piece, piece of gum.
Yeah, because it depends on where you buy it and how, but sometimes it comes in little wrappers making it look like sheets. So it's a sheet of gum.
True.
Okay.
Well, fantastic. So let's continue on the airplane. Jade, why don't you go ahead and read this since it's been a while since you've read, okay?
When leaving the plane, take a look in the pocket of the seat in front of you, under your seat and in the overhead luggage area to make certain you have all your belongings.
Basically, double check. I don't think you can double or triple check enough.
Check everywhere you may or may not have thought to even leave something while you were sitting in that little small space in the aeroplane. Because trust me, you thought you put your MP3 player in your handbag by your feet, but you didn't. So just triple check.
So basically, to sum that up, it's basically triple and quadruple check everything all the time. So the hotel. So we finally get to the hotel. If you book your hotel, try and make sure it is near the conference area or the main area where you will be spending most of your time. That way you won't have to wake up earlier than needed or get a transport to the site, etc. Over the years, speaking to many people, I've learned that a lot of people like to sleep. There are more people who prefer to sleep later than people Okay, more night owls than early birds, basically. So people who like to sleep in. That's why I put that one, because I'm one of those people. And to get transport, you know, again, if there's any events or there's a traffic jam or something like that, you obviously don't want to be late. So the closer you are to the conference area, the building, etc., the best. All right. Any questions or comments here?
Nope, it's pretty self-explanatory.
Okay, good. Ken, nothing?
Maybe nowadays we can check such things beforehand on Google Map or something. And then if we go there, maybe we can check, maybe double check the site.
Exactly. Just to see if anything, you know, if the hotel changed or that you were given the wrong address, something like that. So absolutely. Again, always check. Need transport. Think about pre-booking a personal taxi for your stay. Again, this completely depends where you are, etc., etc. Rates will be cheaper if you book for a period of time rather than using it here and there. So if you're in New York City and you book a personal taxi for 3 days, you're probably going to get a cheaper rate if you just find taxis in the street and you say, hey, take me here. Okay, now take me here. It's going to be cheaper if you, I think, at least it should be. Any personal experiences with this? I don't have any personal experience with booking a taxi or anything like that, but.
No. In South Africa, we, and also I think they do it in the US, and I'm not sure where else. I know they don't do it in Germany, is Uber, which is basically a taxi service. Whether you pre-book it or whether you book it in the moment, you know, request it the minute you need it, it's the same price. You might get discounted rates going through a taxi association, like a full-on taxi company, where you are booking it for X amount of days, perhaps, but that would be a consistent, okay, take me here, take me there. I think often when it comes to taxi prices versus everything else, it might, depending on the need, you might find it cheaper to actually just rent your own car so that you could drive yourself around, not be reliant on a third party. Sometimes it's just cheaper to take the train if trains are available, or buses if buses are available. And going back with where you book your hotel, if you've booked it close enough to your conference venue, you could actually just walk. That's the cheapest. But taxis are not always, they're often your most expensive method of transport, whether you book them in the moment. And look, this is just personal experience once again, both here in Germany, in Holland, and in South Africa. Look, there's not really a lot of train options in South Africa, but when it comes to Holland and Germany, it's often a lot cheaper to just take the train.
Yeah, absolutely. And so this is just something that you need to think about when, you know, you do go on a trip in general or specifically a business trip. Ken, any comments?
Kind of. I think for the regulation, Uber is not so common here. So, but maybe some company offered such kind of booking, personal booking for the stay. Probably, I'm not sure about that, but also I booked the shuttle bus to the hotel. You know, yeah. To when I went to the United States. So maybe, yeah, for the hotel, shuttle bus would be available. But taxi, also some country taxi, we need to negotiate the price beforehand. But in Japan, we don't have to negotiate. A taxi has a meter, and yeah, kind of taxi driver offer the price according to the meter. Meter? Is it correct? Kind of.
Yeah, meter to taxi.
Yes, meter taxi.
Yes, meter taxi. Yes.
Well, and I agree with that. From my personal experience, actually, what we're going to do on my trip is get the hotel to pick us up in a taxi. They have one rate, so it doesn't matter how long it takes. It doesn't matter anything else. They'll pick us up. And that, I think, just because our last experience in Amsterdam, we should have done that because it was just outrageous, the price that we actually paid. So it depends. So good. So what we'll do is go down, as we're almost out of time here. So during your stay, this is just some advice. Obviously, get enough sleep every night. You don't want to be tired, as this is for business, for work. Drink a lot of water to help with any time zone changes or altitude differences. If you have to socially drink, make sure you drink a lot of water before and after to help prevent a hangover, potential hangover, or tiredness, extra tiredness. We don't need that. If you have some extra time, go to a museum, park, etc. So do something you enjoy and take advantage of you being there. You know, you should take advantage of being in a different city or country because it's part of your life. It's not just work. So good. And like I said, I was trying to do this from every aspect. If you're going to be there for one day or for a couple days or a week or whatever, you know, sometimes people do have to go out and have dinner with people or just an afternoon kind of drink together. So just want to be prepared for everything. Any comments?
Absolutely.
While I move on down to this one. Anything else?
Yeah, on the way back, do everything backwards. Excellent.
And so I think it would be so boring to go over the same exact steps again. So just do everything just opposite. You know, start with your suitcase, your itinerary, where are you going? Exactly.
Yeah, very important.
Transport. So as it says, so go back to the top of this document and repeat steps. There's really nothing else super special when it comes to, you know, to going home. It's just, again, packing your suitcase, getting everything ready, making sure you have your flight information and everything else that you need in order to have a safe flight home.
Yes. Don't forget your charger and your toothbrush, the same as the first block. And your hair straightener.
I couldn't live without that. So, perfect. Well, great. So thanks, Jade, for joining us today. I just want to, so Friday, I'm actually having a class thinking about work trips. I am going on a pleasure trip. It's for fun. It's not for anything else. But we're having a class at 2:30 Spain time, Ken. Today is the 29th. So December 1st, we're going to learn how to complain. So we're going to look at some vocabulary and things like that and how to complain. So obviously work related, because who needs to be able to learn, Mom, I don't want this. That's a little bit too colloquial for us. So we'll learn the correct way on how to complain. Okay?
And I just want to confirm the time there is at 2:30 our time.
Yes. Yes. It should be, because originally I had it at a different time. Then that time didn't work for me, and then Thomas changed it. So yes, it should be 2:30 our time. Spain and Germany are in the same time zone. So, Ken, do you think you'll be able to make it on Friday?
Yes, it's Saturday here. It's midnight Saturday.
What day is it right now?
Now it's just midnight, not here.
It's midnight, so technically in 1 minute it's going to be Thursday.
Yes, Japan is our future.
Right.
Well, they're the future of everything anyway, so they might as well be in the future. Perfect. Well, Ken, I'll see you on Saturday on my Friday. All right, perfect. Well, everyone have a great day. Thanks for watching. Thanks for joining, and we'll learn about complaining next time.
Great. Okay. Nice to meet you, Ken. Thank you, Becky.
Yeah, no problem. Jade, I'll see you tomorrow noon.
See you tomorrow.
Perfect. Bye, everybody.
Okay. Bye.
Bye-bye.